Welcome to Chapter 4 of Fantasy Knits, a Traveling Knitter. I don't have much different to show you from last episode, but I've made quite some progress on the items that I do have. I don't have any completed quests. I didn't finish anything, but not a big deal to me. I've been the last 2 weeks I've really been reading a lot more than knitting, so I finished maybe 4 books, which is not a lot for me. 4 is probably about average, but like one of them was 500 pages. I think another one was also super long, so I'll take it. But I'm going to just jump right on into the quests that I'm currently on. And for those of you that are new, quests are whips. They're basically the object. I thought I'd take a different take on the FOs in whip concept, and I call them quests. So quests or adventures. I thought it was cute and went with the theme of fantasy. So let's see, what's the first one I want to show? All of my stuff is on the ground because I normally put things on my ottoman, but my ottoman is currently in a different location because I needed it to reach a very high place. You probably didn't care. Okay, so the first thing I will show you is in this Minnie Mouse project bag that I made myself. I'm very proud of it. It looks very cute and very professional, if I do say so myself. And it is my Miller's Daughter, which is a shawl by Melanie Berg. By looking at it, you're not going to see much progress. And I'll zoom in and hopefully it will, there we go, that looks really good. It won't look like I've done much progress because unlike what I said in the last episode, that I was just gonna fudge it and figure out where those increases needed to go, it ended up just being off way too much. So I did indeed frog the entire thing. So this is completely brand new and I just pulled 2 stitches off. Cool, let's quickly just grab those. So annoying. I have to say lace weight is definitely not my favorite. It's fiddly. I feel like I have to overcompensate to make the sides very loose. So not like I'm excited about it and I'm about to start the lace work where I don't have to change colors all the time, but I don't know, I'm like trying to be super neat, but it just doesn't look neat. Oh well. The 2 skeins I'm using, one is this orangey color. I want to say it might be Malabrigo, but I could be totally wrong. It's a single, and I bought it like 7 years ago, so I don't know what this is anymore. But I did find the ball band for this guy, and it is the Merino lace from Hedgehog Fibers in Genie. So there is the tag. Merino lace is 100 grams, 1,200 meters, 100% merino wool. And again in the Genie colorway. So I enjoy knitting it. It's just a little fiddly because it's lace work, and since it's lace work, I don't like to work on it mindlessly because I tend to drop the stitches. I tend to knit a little bit too tight on the sides, so not a mindless knit, and it's not because of the pattern, it's because of the lace yarn. So again, Miller's Daughter by Melanie Berg. The next thing I'll show you is also in a bag that I made myself, and it's the first bag I ever made. It's actually the first thing I've ever sewn in my life. Has a cute little tassel. And this is the Reyna shawl. So Reyna is by, and I have the pattern. Oop, no I don't. Reyna is by Noora Laivola, I think. I'm not trying to pronounce it. This is what mine looks like so far. I've definitely been working on this at work. So there it is. I added another stitch marker. I complained about that in the last episode. And again, it's just my personal preference, nothing to do with the pattern, but it was throwing me off. So there it is. And I've come to the conclusion that I am definitely going to need to purchase a solid black or tonal black single ply yarn to have a border, because this is just gonna be like so colorful, and I like color, but as terrible as this sounds, this like to me kind of gets tacky in how colorful it is. Makes me think of the 90s. I like it, but I need to tone this down somehow. So I'm thinking a black border, just another pattern repeat is what I'm gonna end up doing, and I think that'll look really nice and tone it down a bit. But other than that, I really like it so far. It's super mindless, and you just have to make sure you have the right stitch counts before you do your lace, but even then, you know, you can figure out the pattern repeat if you are off on your stitch count. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. Just type in Reyna or look up shawls that are free, and I think it's on the first page. It might even be the second one that shows up. So yeah, knitting on my knit picks. I did not mention what I was knitting on the other ones with. Were they Chowgoos or were they also knit picks? Oh look, I'm pretty sure they were Chowgoos. Yeah, Chowgoo lace tip in size 3, and these are in size who knows, because Knit Picks doesn't put their sizes on their needles. At least they didn't when I bought these. I'm gonna say it's probably a size 5 is what this is on. So we'll put that back in there. And I've actually made quite a lot of progress with this guy. This is the one that I tend to knit on while at work, because again, I can be on a phone call, and if I'm not taking notes, I can work on this. The next project is my Ginny sweater, which I've been keeping in this little tote bag that my mom got me for Easter. So she put all of our Easter goodies inside of a bag. So that's what I've been using for my sweater, because the pattern book fits nicely into it. So again, the pattern is Ginny, and it's by Kim Hargreaves, and it's out of the Amber A Winter Gathering pattern book. And this is where I keep all of my notes, because Kim Hargreaves patterns are kind of written a little bit difficult to like, they're not straightforward, so I'm constantly checking my math, and so I've been just writing down notes and any sort of changes I've been making, and that's really been helping, because I started another sweater. I think I mentioned this before. It's one of my hibernating projects. I started a sweater when I was a sophomore in college, and that is 7 or 8 years ago. So it's been a long time, and I didn't keep notes, and so every time I go back to that project, it literally takes me like an hour to figure out what the heck I'm doing. So I've learned my lesson, and I will always write notes when I'm doing, you know, these larger projects like sweaters. I am pleased and proud to announce that I am up to shaping for the armholes now. So I have definitely change some things about the pattern, more so the length and things. So this is the moss stitch on the bottom, and it is very dark, so you can't really, I don't know if you can really see this on the camera, but I'll come up. So moss stitch down here, and then it has these cool like rib things, so you kind of pull them apart, but this kind of does some shaping in the waist, and this is the back portion, by the way. And then we have the body, and you increase on the sides so it's getting larger, and somehow I'm working the size small, so there's like, I think it's extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, something like that. So I'm working the small, which is the second size. But once I got down to the smallest portion of it, where the little ribs were, I realized I had somehow decreased to the extra small size. So what I'm doing now is I'm increasing back to the small size, and that's where I'm getting my length, because a lot of people were saying that this pattern for the body was just too short and the arms were too long. So I added a lot of extra length, actually. I was only supposed to do 9 repeats, I think, but I ended up doing 11 repeats to get back to my correct stitch count. So, I mean, I held it up to, so if I hold this up, it goes to a good length, and the little ripple rib pieces don't hit me in a weird spot. So hopefully this will work, and then I just have to figure out how to increase or lengthen the front panels so that they match. But I've been keeping really good notes, so hopefully it should not be too difficult. So yeah, I'm right at where I'm going to start shaping the armholes, and my stitch marker is not, or my progress keeper is not from where I last showed this. I was actually using it to keep track of my repeats, but so it's a sucre miniature. It's a little bowl and spoon. There, you can see that it's green, and it's from the Homespun House and Sucre Miniature collaboration yarn club for the Tim Burton Yarn Club from October, November, and December. So this was the December one for A Nightmare Before Christmas. And yeah, that's the back of the sweater. And I am using Knit Picks City Tweed DK in, I think it's the Plum colorway. Very pretty, and I'm pretty excited to get moving on this. And I don't remember if you work the panels next or the sleeves, but I kind of want to knit the sleeves just so that I can figure out those adjustments, and then just breeze through the pieces. So there's the back. Ooh, get back in here. And I just started the third ball of yarn. So the back is pretty much going to take 3 balls. So I imagine the fronts, it will each take 2. The sleeves might take 2. Yeah, I'll definitely have. I think I should have enough. Yeah. So there it goes. Pretty pleased with how that is turning out. Pretty excited to actually hopefully finish my first sweater. It's not something I've been traveling with. I pretty much just work on it on the couch when I'm watching TV or YouTube or something. So the last project, I actually just cast this on because I kind of felt bad. I thought, you know, I want to really get on a schedule of filming bi-weekly, and I tend to only really film on the weekends. And I felt bad that I didn't have anything new to show, so I decided to cast a pair of socks on. And this is in my Peace Love Knitting bag by Toad Hollow, which They what came in my swap with the Notorious swap, so pretty excited about that. I love having bags, which is actually kind of new to me. I used to always just throw all my knitting in my purse and was constantly having to pick up stitches and stuff got in the way. So this is actually really nice. I totally understand why people like having project bags. This is definitely a stash dive. You know, I have a lot of stash, but I'm kind of terrible in that I buy a lot of things and then I'll knit one thing and then I'll buy more and then I'll knit one. And so then I end up with a lot of yarn that is years old. Like, years old. I find a lot of podcasters will, or people on knitters on YouTube will mention, oh, this, you know, this is deep stash and it's 2 years old. My deep stash is literally like 15 years old. That's how much of a problem I have with my stash. I'll buy stuff and I'll just never knit it, or I inherit it from my mom or something, and you know, then we're looking at like 30 years of stash dive. So not to like belittle or, you know, put anyone down about how their stash, oh, 2 years is so old. Like, that's totally fine. 2 years old, it may be old for you, but 2 years for me is like, good. You only waited 2 years. So, this guy actually, I believe I bought this yarn when I was in high school, and it was the very first indie dyed yarn I had ever purchased. It is called Lost City Knits. This is probably not what their ball band looks like, and it is their Pathway sock in Superwash Merino. It's in their Caliope colorway, and it's 385 yards, 110 grams. And this is what it looks like. Super pretty. It's dark teal, dark purple, and a bright pink, and then a light, like, lilac purple. So, super pretty. I bought 2 skeins from this dyer, and I recently checked. They still exist. So, definitely check them out. Like I said, they've been around for a very long time because it's the very first indie dyer I ever purchased. Well, it's lost its smell, but I do recall it smelled a little like acidic, but it doesn't have that anymore. I bought 2. So I bought this skein for myself, and then I bought another one for my dad, and those were the very first socks I ever made. And I gave them away to my dad because I thought they looked a bit like Miami Dolphin colors. So, yep, that's these. And I'm making socks, and I cast on. So all I have is a little mustache, as Candace from Pinfeathers and Purls does. It's a little mustache. And this is out of my leftovers from my Pure Joy shawl. The gray color, which I think was Coltrane or something. Steel City. Maybe Steel City. And I believe the yarn dyer who dyed this has changed her shop name. She used to be Lunar Stitches, but I don't think that's what her shop is anymore. I'm not quite sure. I will maybe put it on the screen, maybe put it in the shop note, or in the down bar in the episode notes. We'll see, but it used to be Lunar Stitches. I believe I have more information about this on my Pure Joy video that I made like half a year ago. Can't remember. But so this is my new pair of socks that I'm working on. It's going to be the Hermione Everyday socks, which I have knit before, but I don't have a pair for myself. So thought I would do that. And heels, toes, and cuffs in this gray. And then the rest of the body in this one. Again, Lost City Yarns in the Caliope colorway. So that's exciting. New socks. Maybe I'll finish them in this month. I'm terrible at getting socks done in a month. And there it is in my Toad Hollow bag. those are all of the quests that I'm currently on. Like I said, none finished, but I thought I made quite a lot of progress, especially on that sweater. And then, you know, to completely redo the Miller's Daughter shawl. So it looks like I haven't done anything, but, you know, I've essentially knit it twice. Or knit the first wedge twice. And then Reyna has pretty much doubled in size. So quite a lot of knitting, I feel like. I do not have any new things to add to Smaug's Trove, but I do want to bring, I did want to show some yarn that I've had for a bit. I feel like, and again, not to step on anyone's toes, but I feel like the knitting community on YouTube, we're always talking about yarn dyers and things like that, which is awesome. It's great to support, but that's expensive. You know, if I didn't have the job I had, I would not be able to buy indie dyed yarn all the time. And we all know how much that costs, but I think a lot of people who aren't as involved in the YouTube yarn community don't necessarily knit with indie dyed yarns all the time. Maybe they do. Just from my experience, my friends that I know who knit don't knit with indie dyed yarns very often, and then the knitting group that I never visit, but I have visited a couple times, they also barely knit with indie dyed yarns, and they literally have told me it's because it's too expensive, which I think when they mean by it's too expensive, it's more so it's expensive because a lot of what they knit is to donate. I don't think it's too expensive for like the product you're getting, because that's a lot of work that they put in, and plus the materials. So that's not what I think they mean when they say it's expensive. Again, a lot of what the knitting group that I very infrequently hang out with, they do a lot of charity knitting and donations. So, you know, can't afford to spend $60 on a sweater to donate. But either way, I thought I would kind of talk about some big box yarn that I own. One that I wanted to highlight is Heartland, and it's by Lionbrand, which I'm a fan of Lionbrand yarn. Oh, there is a really ugly glare. But I'm a fan of Lionbrand. It's a US company based out of the East Coast. I follow them on Instagram. They have some really nice pictures. But Heartland is a super soft worsted weight yarn. It's so soft. You get 251 yards or 230 meters in a skein, and each skein, depending on where you buy it, is between $4 and $7 from what I've seen. With this yarn, so this one is a rusty orange brown color, and it is in the Yosemite colorway. And I believe Heartland, all of the colorways are named after something in the United States. I have two skeins because my plan was to either make a cowl or a matching glove and hat set for myself, because I thought the colors were just really pretty. And again, it's soft and really affordable. And I think worsted weight is something that I tend to not buy from indie dyers because, again, it just gets a little bit too pricey. So if you buy fingering weight, you can make something with one fingering weight skein, or you can combine it with something else. But I really do like this yarn. I have knit a hat out of Heartland before, and it was really nice, especially for the price point. And again, you've got some really nice rustic colors, and if you're ever out and about, I think Walmart actually sells this, just touch it. It's a really, really soft yarn. So they also, just like always, they have a pattern on the ball band. This is literally just, it's kind of like the granny square blanket that everyone's making, but larger and in a scarf form, and it's on both of them. Would I make this? Probably not, but it's nice that that's there. They also have a cool feature with the ball band in that it is so you've got inches and centimeters. So that's kind of nice in case you need a ruler on your ball band. But yeah, not much else to say about it, but I just thought, you know, to mention yarns that are not indie dyed that I own. And I own a lot of non-indie dyed yarns because I used to do a ton of knitting for craft shows. Not so much anymore because I think knitting has really become very, very popular. So when I first started doing craft shows and I would knit scarves and hats and shawls and cowls for the craft show, you know, I was one of the only booths there. Now when I go, you know, there's like half of the booths are knitting. I thought it would be nice to highlight a very common big box yarn that has a much more affordable price point than a lot of the yarns that we tend to talk about. The last thing that I want to talk about is a novel idea segment. A novel idea is where I mention a book that I would recommend. And in this segment, there's going to be two. One that I actually recommend, and another one because it just came out and I want to let you guys know about it. So, the first book I want to mention is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. Sorry, like reading it backwards with all those S's and duplicate letters was kind of difficult, but it's The Bone Season. It has a nice glossy embossed thing. There's the sign. And again, it's fantasy. It's a fantasy series. It's got quite a lot of, you know, accolade blurbs on the back. And I read this 2 years ago. Summer 2 years ago, and loved it. Oh my gosh. I thought it was so good, and it really kind of kicked off my love of reading again. So this book is a like weird future dystopic novel, which I'm not like, I'm kind of over the dystopia thing that's been around. Thank God the demon vampire episode is over. That was not fun. I was never a fan of the, you know, the dark vampire romance phase that just took off the tail end of my high school and then my college years. So dystopia kind of kicked in midway through my college years. So I'm kind of tired of dystopia, and I'm about to say that this book is really good. So this novel is about a girl. Her name is Paige, and she works for like a crime lord in future London. I believe it's London, but it's not like the London we know of. It's got different sectors that are controlled by different people, different lords, things like that. And so she works, you know, in the underground crime rings, and she gets captured by the government, and then the government ships her off to essentially like the slave labor camp, but she ends up being like, her host is a notorious, I don't know if you would say god, but it's like the ruling class of the slave colony. And she then finds out, you know, more about her current situation and the people that are there and the old you know, her old life, her old London, and that there's going to be this major battle, and, you know, she wants to be a part of it, but she has to, you know, keep it on the down low, because there are other things, other factors that are in it. That's maybe not as good of a description. Hopefully that makes you want to read it, or at least check it out on Goodreads. I haven't mentioned it in the last episode, but I do have a Goodreads account. I'm very active on Goodreads. I'm almost more active on Goodreads than I am on Ravelry. Ravelry I kind of just use for patterns and things like that, but on Goodreads I am Lulu is Crazy. So if you want to check me out there, you totally can, but you can read the blurbs and things like that. The third book to this series, this is the first one, I have the second one, I don't have the third one. They changed the covers for the third one. Why? Why change the covers when you haven't even finished the series? So, yep, I'm gonna have to buy the third one, but it's gonna be a different color. So, I highly recommend this. I flew through this. The second last book that I want to mention is actually a series I believe I've talked about. I think I have. There's only been 4 chapters, and I can't remember which books I've talked about. I think it's because I've like recorded episodes multiple times, so I forget what I have and what I haven't done. But either way, this book just came out, and it is A Court of Wings and Ruin. So excited to read this. I wish I have already finished it, but I had some other books that I needed to finish because they needed to get returned to the library. And I know as soon as I start reading this, I'm not going to want to do anything else. And I really needed to do some laundry, which you may actually be able to hear in this video. Maybe. I know in one of my other videos I noticed you could hear the laundry, which, sorry, but when I'm recording, I'm always multitasking. So if you hear the laundry, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm actually not sorry. But A Court of Wings and Ruin. Highly recommend the series. Oh, I didn't even tell you. Sarah J. Maas. I know it's a knitting podcast, but I feel like a lot of knitters like to read as well. So without stretching it out, that's my episode. I'm glad you could take a little time out of your day to watch me blab about stuff that hopefully you like. But otherwise, I will see you in my next episode. Bye!